Welcome to Strange Journeys. He had waited weeks to get away on this fishing trip with his brother. With their rods ready, they stepped into their waders and out into the middle of the river. His brother walked downstream about 50 feet and was facing in the opposite direction. Henry cast several times to get a feel of his rod and how the lure reacted to the river. It was then that he spotted an amazing rainbow trout. He watched it move upstream a bit and then turned to cast. It was then that he saw movement over to his left. The movement was accompanied by a strange orange glow. As he focused on the glow, something began to materialize within it. His stomach dropped, and he lost all control of his bodily functions when he realized what he was looking at. A two-legged being that was vaguely human-shaped, but with the head and arms, and he couldn't believe he was thinking this, of a praying mantis. He stood there frozen, and this Mantis Man thing turned and saw him staring. Henry seemed to sense that this thing was as surprised as he was. Then it stepped out of the river and faded away.
Do you want to take a trip? With you ghost host Tom and ghost guy Tim. And the executive team, Andrea, Ben, Dagny, Donnie, Lewis, Lynn, Selina and Tom. Are you ready? Here we go.
And welcome back to Strange Journeys. I'm Tom Rouse, your ghost host. Down below, we've got Selina, and over to my left, Joff and Michelle Clark. We're going to be talking to them for a few minutes here, just a little bit. They're the founders of Eat Right Meal Prep, so hang on for that. But first, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Remember, we provide these shows first and foremost for you, the watchers, for your entertainment. We are not, by any means, and do not claim to be, scholars or experts on any of the topics that we cover. We're simply enthusiasts and storytellers who have fun with these topics while doing our best to respect individual beliefs. And please remember, this show is live, but not from New York, and nothing is rehearsed or edited out later. What you see is what you get. And remember that you can support us at Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. Links are in the description below. And also, if you are watching, remember this.
Click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe to all these videos that Papa Tom made. Hit that notification bell up. My work here is done now.
My grandson helping promo the show. So that was the two. We'd used that first one for a little while, and then for a couple of years, if you notice the age difference, the age progression, and a few months ago he come back and said, Papa Tom, we got to do a new YouTube video. I'm like, okay. And also we will be, in the next few days, this show is going to be available on Spotify, Google Podcasts. But I'm getting tongue-tied now. Selena, what did you do?
I didn't mean to. Sorry.
Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. Now, I've got to do a little digging, but I found out today that Stitcher is stopping podcasts for some reason. I don't know what's going on there, so I got to figure that out. So and Pandora's connected with them. So if you're listening on Pandora, stay tuned, because I'm going to try to keep us on there. So I'm not sure what's going on yet. Also, because of that, we're not showing as many pictures and videos as we used to, since most of those are audio only. And on Spotify, you can leave us a message or a tip. If you like and support what we do, then you can let us know right there. And last show, what do you think, Selena? Gettysburg Ghost. We went to the.
That was a good one. That was real good.
What is it? They call it the park, Gettysburg National Park. Mm-hmm. And we talked about seeing the different things and the videos. Oh my God, that one where some gray figure was leaning up against the
The cannon.
cannon right there, and it was. I mean, to me, it looked like he was leaning up against the cannon, smoking a cigarette.
Same here.
Just
It was
taking a break.
incredible.
Yeah. And then there was one with the one of them jumped across the. It was just weird videos. So uh, anyway, it was a wild show. If just go back and check on our YouTube channel, it is up on Spotify now, and the other platforms. If you want to go listen to it, if you want to watch it, check it out here on YouTube. Now, as I mentioned, we have special guests Joff and Michelle Clark from EatRightMealPrep.com, and they're a food delivery service. And I'm going to turn it over to them for just a minute here and let them tell us a little bit about what they do. Go ahead, Joff.
Well, thank you, Tom. We started this company about 5.5 years ago, but prior to being in the food prep business, we had been in the gym business. Michelle and I had run Bayou Fitness for many, many years. And, as, fitness people, trainers, this stuff, where we're always getting people that would be working out so hard, 5-6 days a week, and they'd be getting in great conditioning. Like they would be great cardiovascular shape, and musculature would be great, but they could never lose any weight. And I did a bunch of research and realized that 80% of the way you look and the amount of weight that you carry has to do with what you consume, not so much how hard you work out. So we always had this crazy saying that said you can't out-work out a bad diet. So, and it's really true, Tom. We've, Michelle and I have proven it. And in doing that, we decided that, okay, well, let's see if we can't help out some of our customers. So we started doing a little bit of food prep, mainly for our gym customers, thinking that would be something to supplement and help them kind of move along the way, lose a little bit of weight while they're getting in shape. As it turned out, it exploded. We had so many calls for that. Anyway, long story short, we ended up selling the gym, going 100% into the food prep business. Wow. And as of last year, we were the largest food prep company in Mississippi. We have, we had about 5 full-time chefs that were working. We were doing about 2,000 meals a week. And it was really crazy successful.
It's been five and a half years.
5.5 years, yeah. We won an award, Best in Mississippi, one of the food preparation company awards, and it's really been a great ride. It turns out, some of the things that we started out with, just our regular food, we've now expanded out. We now have our regular line, which is our very healthy food products, but we have a keto line. Now we have a vegetarian line. We have gluten-free for anyone that has celiac disease. We have dairy-free meals. We have really, really great products. And Tom, the greatest thing about it is, it isn't tasting all bland and horrible like you would think if you had to, be on like a food prep kind of diet. It's not. It's actually delicious product.
Good.
You can, and we sell everything online. We don't have a real storefront anymore. And now we've expanded and we're shipping nationwide. So if you're in Oregon, if you are in Maine, if you're in South Florida, or if you're in California, you can get our meals as long as it's in the continental United States. So
and fresh fruits and vegetables,
right.
Protein donuts, and family portions now as well.
Yeah, you can get family portions if you don't want to buy the specific meals. You can actually buy family portions that are enough from 4 to 6 servings. So you can go ahead and feed your family if you want to do a certain meal one night. We have a family portion that you can dig into and feed your meals. And the one thing, our meals, we have no preservatives whatsoever. So it's all natural. It's all grass-fed beef. It's all free-range poultry. It's all wild catch seafood. So we don't use any of the farmed salmon and stuff like that really, it's better for you than some other things, but it's still not really, they're being fed corn, and that's what they're eating. It's not like a natural, salmon that's working its way up the river and is really healthy. It's not like that. The stuff we use is 100% natural. It's really great product. And the preservatives that they're putting in food nowadays, is really frightening. If you start looking at the chemicals, when you go to the grocery store and you pull up something that says, oh, a healthy meal, start reading the chemical preservatives and things like that are put in it. It's really quite terrifying, and you wonder why the life expectancy in America is actually starting to come down.
Tom, you're actually on the family portion section.
Yeah.
If you can click on the weekly menu section.
Yeah.
Okay, I will, but I wanted to ask, how do you say this, and what is that? Right there.
Which one are we looking at here, Tom? The screen's really small here.
Quinoa?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that stuff.
Yes.
Quinoa, yeah. Well, you're going to have to try some of that, Tom.
Yeah.
It's good
Oh,
stuff.
boy.
So those are all the sides. If you go to the weekly menu tab at the top
I
left,
will. I've
it'll
always
show
tried
you
to,
all the individual prepared meals.
yeah, I've always tried to stay away from eating stuff I couldn't pronounce.
Yeah, right.
I'm joking.
Tom, all of our meals have no refined sugars, and there's no sugars added. It's no white flour. We don't use white flour, and it's low sodium. So if someone has high blood pressure, they don't have to worry about like a great, high salt content to bump the blood pressure up. It's low calorie, high protein. It's heart healthy, and it's diabetic friendly. So it's really good stuff. And I know you're looking at the donut section there. We actually have protein donuts. They taste fabulous. And I know it sounds crazy that a donut can actually be good for you. But if you got to eat donuts, these things are great.
Yeah.
There you go.
High in protein, low in sugar.
Well, that was.
And it's really good for a balanced diet.
And they're delicious.
I would say about 40% of, maybe 45% of our customer base, they're not people, athletes or anything like that, or gym people. They're elderly people that don't want to buy garbage when they go to the grocery store.
True.
They don't want to have to look at every single label. Someone that's 80 years old and they're pushing their cart around, they don't want to have to grab every box and read all of the ingredients in it to know they're eating healthy. And yet they want to eat healthy, and they can do it with us at a level where it's not crazy expensive. And if you're just cooking for one, it's really easy to just put something in the microwave, and in 2 minutes you've got a nice hot meal that's healthy and good for you.
Each of those meals have the double protein option too.
Right.
So you can get higher calories, higher protein.
That's our chef's choice pack, and that's for people that don't want to have to go through and figure out which meals they want. They just they place one order that gives you your meals for the week. You get 10% off, and you get healthy meals every single day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And subscription is not required, but on the chef's choice, it's optional, and you don't even have to reorder each week. You can just have meals come to your door every week.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Oh, now that's cool.
Yep.
Yes.
We make it easy, and when you start, when you grocery shop, Tom, I don't know, what do you spend every week when you go to the grocery store? It's got to be hundreds of dollars, right?
Don't even.
Okay, right. Well,
I have no clue.
It's crazy expensive.
Yeah,
When you look at how much this is, and then you plan it out over the course of a month, it actually, especially with these elderly people, they're on fixed incomes and stuff.
Yeah.
They're saving money because there's no wastage.
Yeah.
The product that you're eating, you're getting the right size portions, so you're not overeating, and yet the stuff tastes great, and you're eating really healthy.
Let me ask you this.
In the microwave.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Let me ask you this. What do you do with food allergies?
Well, I don't know if you notice on, depending on which food allergy it is, if you send us an email, we can recommend whatever meals it is that will work within those food allergies.
Okay.
You can click on each picture of the meal, and it'll show you the ingredients in the meal.
Right.
And then you can just pick the ones you want.
Yeah.
And it shows you the macros on there as well.
Right. Yeah, you'll see all the macros down below there.
And
Okay,
then you
there
can
it
just
is.
select the ones that fit your diet.
I see. Ingredients and allergens: all natural ground beef, Spanish rice, kidney beans, red bell peppers, onions, pepper jack, and jalapeno. Contains dairy, so that would let people know that have lactose intolerance.
If you look on the menu, or if you look on the website menu there, it'll show you there's a button you can click that says dietary preferences, and that will show you where there's no
so if you want
involved.
dairy free, you can just click dairy free, and it'll only show you the meals that are dairy free.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, I went to.
That's on the weekly menu section. When you go to the weekly menu at the top left, And then on the left,
okay, I see it now.
There it is. There's all the dietary.
Gluten-free, dairy-free, vegetarian, keto, low-calorie, low-fat, high-protein. That's cool.
There you go.
I mean,
22 dairy-free.
So Tom, we should do a test here.
Uh-oh.
We should have you and Selina eating the meals for about 6 weeks, and then we come back and ask you how you feel, and if you've lost weight, if you feel better, if you have more energy. And I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking you this. I have a lady. She's a wonderful older lady. She's probably in her early 80s. She's been eating our meals for about 2.5, 3 months. And I got talking to her one day, and she said, "Can I tell you a couple of things?" And no, I was sure, go right ahead. I don't want to mention her name, but I said, you go right ahead. And she goes, well, she says, I don't know if it's the food, but I'm thinking more clearly. I seem to have more energy. I just feel better. And I think, in my mind, I believe that it's because you're not putting all of these chemicals in your body. And she was quite serious that she felt way better than what she did when she was eating her meals prior to this. Clean eating. And it says so much. Now we've been doing it now for 5.5 years, but, and I'm old, Tom. I'm going to be 70 in 2.5 years, and I feel great. I got tons of energy.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold on. You said 70?
Yeah, I was born in 1955.
Oh, come on.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I'll show you my darn driver's license here.
Oh, God.
I'm quite serious. I'll show you when we're done. I promise. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I tell people I look pretty damn good for 95, but I'm not quite there yet. I mean, I look older than you.
Well,
and
I really appreciate that, Tom. And now I've lived a lifestyle where, I started working out at 22 and I've always worked out, but, I had a bout with cancer. So, 2.5 years I wasn't able to work out, and it was pretty tough, but that was prior to getting on eating healthy. And I'll tell you what, since I started eating healthy, it's truly been a life changer. I feel great.
I'll tell you, Joe,
and is it all that?
Serendipity?
I
believe serendipity.
Yep.
I mean, my wife and I have talked about this. I had a heart attack in 2011, and they had me on blood thinners and blood pressure medicine, and all that. And honestly, I've gotten sick of it.
Yeah.
And one thing we've talked about is maybe finding a nutritionist instead of going all this other thing. At my wife's funeral, my mom's best friend works at a health food store here, and we were talking to her. So this is right down where we need to be. And so we're probably going to take you up on that challenge.
Okay. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to. I want to. And, we haven't broadcast this anywhere because we just got the news last night and waiting for confirmation. But we made an offer on a house.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you. And we were told that the current occupants were already packing, but we haven't gotten confirmation. So we're right in the middle of starting to get everything packed up and all that. So, I mean, number one, I could use that as an excuse of we can't afford it right now. But number two,
well, you got to eat, Tom.
Well, actually, I could say that the excuse would be I would rather do that than, keep running to, grab fast food or pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's kind of similar. When we renovated our house, we just used our microwave,
Yeah.
We couldn't cook during that time, and it makes life so much easier.
I really can't I really can't say this any more clearly. Fast food is killing you. Yes. Don't use it. I mean,
so bad.
So we were just in Europe.
Yeah.
And I saw an ad. Okay, so they have McDonald's in Europe. We were in Ireland.
Yeah.
And they had an ad, and they had the U.S. French fries, and they had the ingredients, and they had the ingredients in Ireland.
Totally different.
In Ireland, it was potatoes, it was oil, it was a couple of other little things, and nothing that was extraordinary.
Yeah, 5-10 ingredients.
There was 22 ingredients in the American stuff. 18 of them were all chemicals.
Wow.
It was scary. When I looked at it,
It's like it's not even food anymore.
Throughout Europe, it's like
Yeah.
that. So please, I don't care whose food you buy. I don't care where you buy your food. Don't buy fast food.
Right.
It is absolutely the destruction of our society, and our kids now are, oh man, it's just heartbreaking.
Oh, I agree with you. And I made that as a joke. My number one weakness is the corner store down here has a pizza that's to die for.
Well, I do like some pizza now. I get it there.
And I mean, if you've ever seen the what is it, Hunt Brothers or Family Brothers pizza at the little corner stores? Well, I don't know what it is about this one down here, but my God, it's amazing. We get it with extra cheese and extra pepperoni.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when I'm driving down the highway and I pull in some of those the fuel stations and that, I'll grab one of those when I'm hungry sometimes, because that's all they got.
Oh
and, man, I can tell you, they taste pretty damn good.
Oh, they are good. So, well, Joff and Michelle, like I said, I'm going to get with my wife and we get off here. And we're probably going to take you up on this as soon as we can.
Well, no, we haven't heard from Selina. Selina, are you committed here, Selina?
I'm committed because I hate going to the grocery store, and I'm my mom's caregiver, so this would probably be beneficial for her as well.
Well, what's cool about these, in addition to it as well, is if you don't have groceries, they're vacuum sealed, so you can keep them in the freezer up to 6 months. So you can always have something healthy on
That
hand.
is awesome.
That
is awesome. Well, watchers, eatrightmealprep.com. And Joff and Michelle.
Tom, thank you so much. And it was so nice to meet both you and Selina.
Nice to meet y'all.
Hopefully we can do this some more.
Yeah.
I've very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, we will have you back, and we'll see if we can get on this 6-week challenge, and then get back with you, and I'll stay in touch with you. And now you are welcome to stay with us and talk about the Mantis Man, but if you need to go, I fully understand that as well.
I think we're going to have to go. Our son is in the military, and he's about to ship out, and this is his last day. He leaves tomorrow morning.
For Japan.
For Japan, and he's gone for about 3 years. So we're going to try and spend every waking moment with him if we can.
I understand. And tell him we said thank you for your service.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and thank you. I'm going to mention that to him. He'll be very interested. Now, I'm not quite sure. How do I sign off of this, Tom? What do I do?
Just back out of it. Hit the back button. You'll be fine.
Hit the back button. All right. Hopefully.
Yeah. All right. You have a great
Bye,
day.
everybody.
Nice to meet y'all.
All right. That was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm glad we got to speak to him. Selina, you thinking about doing the 6 weeks challenge, huh?
Yeah, I am thinking about it.
Okay.
A lot of that food looked really good.
Yes, it did. That was amazing. And I know we spent a lot of time on that, but I wanted to talk to them, and so hopefully we can get hooked up with them in the near future here. And if you're watching and you like that kind of thing, go check out eatrightmealprep.com. Now on with the show. You ready, Selina?
I'm
This
ready.
is a weird one. This is probably one of the weirdest we've done. I mean, to me, this is weirder than Puckwudgies. I mean, this is just odd. Cryptid Wiki defines the Mantis Man as a roughly 7-foot tall bug-like creature that has been reported in Hackettstown, New Jersey, near the how do you say that? Musconic Kong.
Close enough.
Yeah, and I think they call it the Mekong for short. This cryptid mostly resembles a praying mantis, which is why it's called a Mantis Man. And it's unlikely that it's related to the actual bugs. So I don't know, because the story that came out on the scene that really brought the Mantis Man to the forefront was back in 2012 out of New Jersey. I'm not going to use their names or anything, but this was a retelling, but this guy saw something strange on the Mekong River near his home in Hackettstown, New Jersey. He said, I was driving home from the drugstore on Newburgh Road. As I drove near the bridge over the river, I noticed to my left something that I thought was just a fisherman standing in the river just off the south bank. I slowed the car and looked a little closer. It wasn't a person, and it was transparent like and with a weird shape. It moved slowly towards the bank and into the trees. I drove further so I could see it coming out of the trees. That's the last I saw of it. It was tall, like 8 foot or so, and had long, thin arms hanging off it. The color was pale brown, but I could see through it. And the head was small compared to the body. It was sunny that day, so I thought it might just be glare from the water, but after I thought back, I realized I wasn't seeing a mirage or a glare. I checked the internet and didn't see anything about it. He said I mentioned it to a coworker and at my office at lunch, and he gave me the strangest look. I thought, uh-oh, he thinks I'm nuts. We went back up to his computer, and he brought up the Hackettstown forum with the Mantis Man witness. What I shared with you at the beginning of the show was just a a version, and I use different names, of course, of what this man saw. The one that was on the forum that put it up there. I mean, it was. I mean, the thing that boggled my mind was when he saw it, he just sat there and stared at it, and it stared back at him. And he got the sense that something wasn't, uh, that there was confusion on the part of this being.
Yeah.
Is like he was picking up on ESP, extrasensory perception, or something, and that he thought that mantis being was just as shocked and surprised as he was, which was weird.
Yeah.
But I've got some other stories here of some other witnesses. Selena, you want to read some?
Okay. This is from a Reddit user. They stated, I actually don't ever talk about this, but one day I got off work at 10 p.m. and I got home and I live with my mom, and our front door is loud, so she would always leave the side open for me. I remember vividly getting out of my car and noticing how silent it was. Usually there was a lot of background noise and animals or wind when it was just so quiet and still. I walked to the side door and started opening it when I felt the urge to turn around and look behind me. There was a super tall mantis being about 10 feet away from just watching me. I instantly froze in shock and fear. I heard in my head, shh, don't scream. And it felt like it was communicating with me.
Wow.
I didn't know what to do, so I stood still, and it scurried behind a fence my neighbor had. I ran inside and called my boyfriend and told him about the whole thing. I was so terrified that it knew where I lived, so I ended up just running out to my car and going to his house. My mom freaked out, just out asking why I left, and I explained to her, but she's super religious and said I must be crazy. I don't take medication, and I had enough sleep, so there's no reason I made this up. It was the most chilling experience ever. I always feel like I'm being watched, and I still do.
Wow. She got the sense that something was watching her, something wasn't right. And she had the urge to turn around, and there's this thing, what did she say? It was about 10 feet away.
10 feet away.
That's real close.
Yeah, it is. Too close.
And that's close enough for her to get a good look at it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Clear look.
That would be freaky to turn around and see something like that. And I know I'm going to touch on this in a little bit, but we talk about the grays. This is a Reddit user drew this. It's just some like gray aliens, but they have that mantis-like head with the big eyes and kind of pointy chin kind of thing, looking like a praying mantis. The next is a witness named Jim. I woke up at about 2:30 in the morning to find a tall praying mantis-looking being and a cloaked being by the side of my bed. I thought to myself, what crazy dream is this? The cloaked being looked at me from beneath the hood, revealing its black skin, which appeared leathery and reflecting light much like a beetle's skin. I shut my eyes thinking this must be a realistic dream. But when I reopened my eyes, the figures were unfortunately still there. The cloaked figure looked up to the tall praying mantis type as if it was confused as to what actions it should take next. The praying mantis turned its head towards the hooded one and made a series of high pitched clicking sounds. I sensed this was the one in command, possibly the other was some kind of security guard. It's at this point I realized I'm definitely not dreaming. I can hear them. All I recall is that it was at least 7 feet tall and had to bend its neck because of the height of the ceiling. Its head was pointed with large eyes. Its forearms were extremely long and moved in a jerky fashion. The cloaked figure was closer, crouching by my bed, so I couldn't tell how tall it was. But I could clearly see that it was wearing some kind of overlapping armor, not sure, including a metallic looking breastplate that had a series of circles on it. Its head was dome like with emotionless facial features. Its eyes were large and surrounded again by detailed ridges. It acted in a way that reminded me of a robot or an insect. At this point, the mantis bent its upper body over my bed and directly above me. In its hand, it was holding a long metal object that looked like a needle. A green light shot directly from the needle and into my right eye. Maybe it was a laser, I'm not sure, but I do know it felt very painful. I could see all the veins from inside my eye and the same effect you get when an optician checks your eyes. I screamed, but no noise come out. I then felt something stick into my skull. I'm not sure what because by that time I had my eyes closed. I pretended to sleep and went into a deep panic. My mind was racing at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I heard a great whooshing sound, and when I next reopened my eyes, thankfully they had gone.
Ew,
Wow.
it's creepy.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy, you know. Um, I mean, if it was a laser, those are not good to point in somebody's eyes,
Uh-uh.
you know. Now, those are just some witness experiences, but there, and I went across this and got tied up doing other things and forgot to go back. But there is an ancient culture that worships a praying mantis god. But in where is this? In Iran, they found a petroglyph. It was found during a survey in Iran. Between 2017 and 2018, researchers happened upon the 5.5-inch glyph that depicts and looks like a praying mantis with circles at the end of its limbs. This Mantis Man petroglyph is estimated to have been created between 40,000 years ago. The disparity in these figures is due to the fact that sanctions keep Iran from utilizing materials to radiocarbon date the specimens. And phys.org reports that glyphs portraying invertebrates are rare, which led to a collaboration between entomologists and archaeologists to try and identify the motif. The group studied and compared the recently discovered Mantis Man with other petroglyphs from all over the world. They also analyzed local prehistoric six-legged creatures which its prehistoric artists could have encountered. And so they're settling on the fact that this is a praying mantis. I
Oh, yeah.
guess. Um, I mean, that's it on the rock there. You can see its arms bent up,
Mm-hmm.
the two big giant eyes, and the four legs, I guess. So, and they're calling it a mantis man. So I don't know where they get that. Anyway, they could also be aliens.
Yeah.
That's one thing I came across in my research was that this is supposedly one of the alien species. You want to tell us about the dog food factory worker?
I will. In Warwick, England, a dog food factory worker, Paul Frogut, was cycling home after work when he claims that he had to flee from an evil 7-foot tall telepathic mantis from another world. The encounter took place on July 16, 2020. Frogut said the experience was like a spider eating a fly on a David Attenborough documentary. Frogut has insisted he was not on booze or drugs. He has also produced a simple sketch of the creature he stumbled upon, sharing it first with the Daily Star.
Okay, let me stop you right there for a second.
Okay.
We have featured stories from the Daily Star here on the show before, and it's the English version of the National Enquirer.
Ah,
So, so I just want to put that caveat out there that this is from the Daily Star, so take that as you will. But supposedly this is Froggett's own personal experience. Go ahead.
it sounds crazy, but I felt like I could sense its feelings towards me, and it was just like a pure alien hatred, Froggett said to the media. You know, when you're watching a David Attenborough documentary and you see a spider eating a fly and just a malevolent sense of evil, Paul has been left traumatized by the events, forced to quit his job, and is struggling to sleep. Below is Froggett's first-hand account of the events on July 16, 2020. On Thursday morning at 5 a.m., I was cycling home from work, and I saw something odd in the sky. It was a glowing orange sphere just hovering on the horizon. At first, I thought it must be Venus or a satellite, but it seemed to be much closer than either of these things. I stopped on my way to take some photos. The object looked a fair bit bigger in person than visible in the photos. This is when the object started to move around and rotate in shape. I could see it was circular with the part sticking out from the main body. When this started, I got the chills down my back and felt like there was something wrong here. I hurried on my way home. As I kept cycling, I could swear the object was moving along my course, but I just told myself it must be some kind of optical illusion. I entered a wooded area and lost sight of the object through the trees. Usually at this time of morning there is a chorus of bird song and insects, but the woods were dead silent.
Wow.
As I cycled down the path, I came around a bend and I saw something I will never forget. Standing a few meters ahead is what I can only describe as a humanoid praying mantis.
Wow.
This thing was at least 7 feet tall, light green with triangular head and big oval black eyes. It had all the features of a mantis, but stood on two legs and had a somehow human-like shape about it. I was completely frozen with fear. For what felt like an age, but was probably only seconds, I stared into this creature's eyes and it stared back. I felt like it could read my mind and I could read it. My fear was replaced with completely alien thoughts of utter hatred and evil I felt projected from this thing. I suddenly snapped out of this hypnotic kind of state and made a step back as if it was going to pounce on me.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The only thing I take issue with here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to refute the guy's story. If he says that's what he saw, that's what he saw. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But he talks about how in the David Attenborough documentaries, have you seen any of those nature documentaries?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's usually David Attenborough that is the narrator, and he's gotten a reputation for doing these type of things. It's not evil, He says, what was it when you see the David Attenborough, the spider eat? Where'd it go? The spider eating a fly and a malevolent sense of evil. That's not evil.
It's just a spider.
Yeah, it's just a spider getting its daily sustenance. It does that every day. It wakes up to catch something in its web so it can eat. That's not evil. I have a story that I wrote called, my mind just went blank now, but The Tyranny of Despair. That's what it's called. And it's about a man who's lost in the wilderness, and his fire is dying out, and the wolves are circling, and he doesn't know if he can fend them off much longer. And he says, I see that wolf staring back at me from the shadows, but I don't sense hatred. I don't sense fear. I don't sense anything from him because that wolf is only seeing me as his next meal. He doesn't hate
Yeah.
me. He doesn't, you know, we would be afraid in that situation. The man in the
Mhm.
story is afraid in that situation because he thinks he's going to be the wolf's next meal. But the wolf doesn't see it that way. The wolf is not evil. The wolf is just hungry.
Right.
And if he thinks that's his next meal, then that's his next meal. It's not has emotions have nothing to do with it. So, and that's the thing. Both of these, um, where the woman, the girl that saw it, and yeah, it felt like it. Don't scream. Um, what'd she say? I heard, don't scream. It felt like it was communicating with me. Okay, but she didn't sense anything evil from it. Just don't scream. You know, Jim, let's see, he said, I don't think he sensed anything from it though. But this guy, Paul, saying he felt like he was getting an empathetic thing where it
Mhm.
was evil. And,
Right.
you know, he felt projected from that thing. Honestly, again, this is his story, and I'm not discounting his story. But in that situation, I think if you're afraid, that may be what you sense. Am I making myself clear that
Yeah.
if this thing's projecting evil, you're afraid. Well, it's projecting. It may not necessarily be evil, but you sense something coming from this, and you get tensed up and afraid all of a sudden. That could seem evil if whatever this is doing um, is making you afraid. That could seem evil. Does that make sense?
It does.
Not. Um, that's just like going back to the spider eating the fly. I mean, what do we do when we run into a spider web? We freak
We
out.
Yeah, we bat it away, make sure it doesn't get on us,
Yeah, we
so we
get
don't get
afraid.
right.
But that spider is innocent, you
Mhm.
know. We come into its territory and we get afraid all of a sudden. But that doesn't mean this spider is evil. I think that was just a misunderstanding. If
I
he
agree.
saw something like that and he sensed his presence, he sensed some kind of extrasensory perception, then it may have just been his fear that felt like evil, is all I'm trying to say. There's a documentary called Love and Saucers, which I did not get any pictures from, and nor am I going into detail. If you want to watch that documentary, um, feel free. It's called Love and Saucers. I think it's on YouTube. But anyway, it tells about this man, David Huggins, and meeting a Mantis Man. He said Huggins was born in rural Georgia in 1944. In Love and Saucers, he talks about hunting for arrowheads in nearby fields for fun and not liking the evangelical Baptist church his grandparents took him to sometimes. When strange beings that no one else could see started appearing to him around the farm, he thought he was losing his mind. He says, I'm sitting under a tree and I hear this voice say, David, behind you. And I turned around and there was this little hairy guy with large glowing eyes coming straight toward me. I thought it was the boogeyman. I didn't know what to think of it. Another day, an insect like being that reminded Huggins of a praying mantis appeared. I was very terrified, he says. It was like, what in the world am I looking at? And for an 8-year-old, you don't know what to think. Again, if you want all the details of David Huggins' story, the reason I didn't do this because he talks about losing his virginity to one of these aliens, and he tells
Oh.
about it and paints pictures of it, does paintings of it. So this is a family show, so I wasn't going to bring that on here.
Mm-mm.
So if you want to see that, it's called Love and Saucers. But anyway, the same thing. You know, at 8 years old, he sees this praying mantis looking thing, and yeah, I'm sure that is freaky looking,
Oh yeah.
and it scared him half to death, I'm sure. But to say it's evil because we're afraid, I think is stretching it. Uh,
Yeah.
could be wrong. They could be totally evil. I don't know. But again, we've talked about this before when I mentioned it last show on Gettysburg that
Mhm.
that was a different time, a different people. They had a different outlook, a different point of view. We can't judge them by our standards and by our point of view because it was totally different back then. You know, when we look at the Civil War, we see it looking back, and they were
Mhm.
right in it, and so we can't
Right.
judge them, whichever side they fought on, whatever belief systems they had. We can't judge them. We have to accept it for where it's at, and it's the same thing with these beings. If we see them, we can't just assume they're evil because they cause us to be afraid. Is my point. Uh, you know, because they're different. If these are aliens, then what does that very word mean? Totally different. They're alien. They're just not like us at all. I mean, we
Right.
call them humanoid because we see two legs and they
Mhm.
stand upright, or what we call upright. But, you know, they're not. If these are real, they're not human. And what has Elizabeth Parker said every time she's on here about ghosts and about sprites and elves and brownies and earth spirits? They're not human.
Yeah.
We can't expect them to act like we would act. We can't expect them to respond like we would respond because they are so totally, completely different. And we have to remember that when dealing with them. So if we get afraid in their presence, we can't just assume that they're evil. We get afraid because they're different. Tell us about the next Reddit user.
Okay. This Reddit user said, I've had many encounters with the mantis beings, including camping alone in the woods, and they showed up, as well as a time they led me to an area where I saw a white alien and was also missing time from my drive home. They definitely think differently than we do.
There you
It's
go.
very complex.
Uh oh.
We do either, so we can come off as cold and cruel. They are masters of nature and have helped me experience other dimensions and interdimensional beings as well.
Wow. This person says they've had multiple experiences, but
Hmm.
they were saying the same thing I just said. I
Right.
didn't even remember that. But they definitely think differently than we do, and they don't
Hmm.
experience pain like we do, so can come off as very cold and cruel. We don't, just because we we get uncomfortable in their presence doesn't mean they're evil. This other Reddit user says the Greys are a mantis interpretation of a human built out of our genetic material for the purpose of functioning within our home, Earth, specific gravity, atmospherics, radiation levels, etc. So put bug features on a person's face, and you get the same emotional feedback you get when looking at depictions of grays because our brains automatically pick up evolutionary survival cues. Except in this instance, the human-esque parts are unsettling to say the least. So I think what they're saying is this could be the grays,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
and we're just exaggerating some features. I don't know. Um, yeah, this next one is kind of weird. Um, go ahead,
Okay.
see what you can do with that one because if I remember correctly, they're carrying on a conversation with a mantis being, so it gets kind of odd in here.
Okay. All right. This Reddit user wrote, one of the experiences I had while sky watching at night involved beings that used to be mantids. I was meditating on a nearby golf course. I would open my eyes every few minutes to look for UFOs. I felt a presence and looked around. Nobody was there, so I forced my eyes shut and breathed away the fear I was feeling, thinking a person was going to jump me. I saw a pattern in my mind, a waveform that wasn't smooth lines like I've seen on an oscilloscope on TV. The lines were almost M-shaped, and there was a diamond shape about it. I kept focused on that feeling, and I saw that there were vaguely mantis arms and a diamond-shaped head, and slowly hundreds of them filled my mind. I don't remember the precise internal dialogue conversation, but it was vaguely like this. You are mantids. There are beings in the UFO lore that are mantids. They have a bad reputation. Are you here to harm me? No words came back, just feelings, concepts, and images in waves. We were once physical beings like you. The shape of that form is part of us. I asked, why are you here? They replied, you called for help. We are here to help. I didn't have any real questions at that point, so I just stayed sitting and meditated silently. I felt a great feeling of love and kindness. After a few minutes of silence feeling this love, I felt tiny prickles of fear. I felt the connection breaking as my frequency shifted towards fear. I opened my eyes. Danger, go home now. I heard a noise in the woods and I hopped up. Walking stick in hand and panic rushing into me, I was about to run, but right before my muscles fired, I felt an insistent suggestion. Calmly. I had a strong feeling that my fear would somehow give something the ability to attack me. So as calmly as I could, I walked home and did not look back. I've been super hesitant to tell anyone about this particular experience. I'm fine detailing my UFO encounters, but I've sat on this for a year before because they were chill. But whatever was eavesdropping on the frequency I was using to communicate with them. I don't get how that would even work. For anyone who is bothered by this, don't let me disturb you. Everything I've experienced could be explained by an undiagnosed mental illness. I'm aware of that and am watching out. I've also asked my girlfriend to help keep an eye on my mental well-being. Always good to have someone looking out.
I think it's unique how they threw that in the last, these are all symptoms of a mental problem,
Uh-huh.
an undiagnosed mental illness, and they're open to that. So
Right.
that's healthy. And
Yeah,
to me, if
it is.
you're over, what's that old saying? Um, if you have to ask if you're going crazy, you're probably not.
Oh. Yeah.
But the thing about this one, it all happened internally with this person. There
Right.
was not a physical sighting. And go ahead and read that next one. I'll read the last one.
Okay. Another witness. I stood there helpless for the longest time, not knowing what to do, but feeling a real sense of panic. Something had to be done quickly. All of a sudden, there were two beings that appeared next to my friend. They seemed to push me right aside and suddenly went right to work on her, like skilled surgeons. They stood to her left, standing together and working furiously on my friend. I had no idea who they were, what they were doing, but the first thing I thought of was, are they aliens? I stood there and watched. I thought they looked like praying mantises. Alien praying mantises? Then I focused on my friend and saw her head was split wide open, like these aliens sliced it perfectly wide
Wow.
open. I saw freshly cut raw flesh, and then alien's praying mantis was busily removing pieces of bone, rock, or whatever from her brain. This did not look anything like what I would imagine the inside of a brain to look like, but it was just such a clean cut. These two alien praying mantises worked together. Without speaking one word, I seemed to black out and don't remember any more of it.
Okay, this was part of a longer story, so I just grabbed the meat of it there. I'm sorry, that was a bad choice of words. It split open. I just grabbed the last little bit of it where he's looking at these beings working on his friend, and
Mhm.
he can only describe them as praying mantises. The
Mhm.
giant praying mantises. That's just, that's another thing that they've been described as aliens. You know. Now, the website hybridrising.com has a good synopsis here. Mantis are insectoid appearing beings have led the abductee experiencer phenomena from the beginning of our modern day awareness of it. They appear to be at the higher, if not the highest end of the ET hierarchy, since they are almost always described as overseeing or have a supervisory role in the abduction procedure process. This is the case whether it is a medical procedure or human ET hybrid interaction. This takes place during situations involving baby or child presentations, all the way to sexual instruction, interaction, and possible telepathic absorption of emotions and sensations. In many such encounters, there is normally a mantis or insectoid being directing and observing the other beings and people involved. Um, they go into the past 20 years ago. They were doing some research on this. These They go on to describe them as saying these beings have long, narrow faces with narrow, large eyes, sharply slanted upward and outward, in almost narrow V position, giving an almost insect-like appearance. This comparison is heightened by the praying mantis types, extremely thin, long torsos, long, extremely thin arms, or which are usually crooked into a sharp bend at the mid joint, with the hand and fingers sloping almost vertically downward from the wrist, and the legs also bent at an almost right angle at mid joint, creating a crouch pose. The overall effect is the characteristic praying mantis look. It should be noted that experiencers feel that this type is no insect, but rather an intelligent, gentle, spirited, and jerky moving human like form, and that there are both males and females. In other words, what they're saying is they describe them as rem- as praying mantises because that's what they resemble.
Mhm.
Um, but also, these people that have experienced these sightings, whether it be on a board a ship or in the woods or in the river, you know, um, they sense an intelligence about them. That is not just an insect. They're not just seeing an over large praying mantis coming at you. And I mean, if something flew in your face, most normal people would say, "Crap, a bug flew in my face,"
Right.
and not say, "This thing was over 7 foot tall and looked like a praying mantis."
Mhm.
So there's got to be something here. And like I said, um, we've said it since the show started. Personal experience.
Right.
We can't refute that.
Mm-mm.
Selena has seen some things, but I haven't.
Mhm.
She's seen some things that I haven't. We've probably seen some similar things, but I can't discount her experience because I didn't see it.
Right.
I can't say, "Oh, it was this or that or the other." No, it's not my place. And people try to do that all the time.
They do.
You know, I mean, especially uh, if it ever happens in the South, they see a UFO or they see the white thing or they see something and they get some crazy redneck on the TV, everybody's like, "Yeah, well, it can't be real because he was into the moonshine or something."
Yeah.
So, but even then, I mean, we've shared the story on here before about some old redneck guy shooting at the white thing, chased it down. I'm not even going to say he's wrong. Number one, because he's got a shotgun, and number two, he loves his moonshine. So
Right.
I'm going to be real careful about criticizing him.
Oh yeah.
But the point of that last little thing from um, where'd I go? Hybridrising.com. The point of it is they're not discounting people's experience,
Mm-mm.
but they're saying that they're describing these beings as praying mantises because that's the only thing that they can equate it to.
Right.
You know, just like we've talked about before on the show, Selena, when you were here, you know, when we were doing OO parts,
Hmm.
we look at that one and say, "Oh, that's a helicopter." Well, we think it looks like what we know as a helicopter, but when they were drawing that hieroglyph, who
Hmm.
knows? It may not even been a flying machine at all,
True.
because from their perspective, they were drawing what they wanted to draw.
Right. It
So
could
it's
be
hard
something
for
totally
us to,
different.
yeah, it could be something, you know, I mean, it could be some fish they saw in the river or something. I don't know. Well, Selena, final thoughts on the Mantis Man?
Well, I think it's really interesting. I'm like you. I don't agree, even though that's his perception, that the what he saw was evil looking. These It sounds like these beings are just simply here to investigate humans. That they're
Could be.
investigating the humans, the other creatures on this world, the world itself, and like you said, each person is their own personal interpretation of what they've experienced, and even they all seem to be describing them the same way,
Yeah,
but the meaning of their presence here as being different.
right. Yeah,
But
and that's the
yeah,
thing. I mean, we're getting these descriptions from different people, but it's the same basic description.
right,
You know,
exactly.
uh, kind of like when people see Pukwudgies, they're given
Yeah.
the same basic description.
Hmm.
So, but going back to the very first sighting, when I heard this, um, and they were talking about the orange glow and this kind of thing,
Hmm.
um, I'm not saying this is what it is, but two things. Um, I mean, we've talked about the possibility of being aliens or ancient beings or whatever. But I, I mean, I've read some fictional stories about some cloaking technologies that individual soldiers can wear now. And when I read the books, it was fictional. The Talon Force, I think, was the name of the series of books. And they put together this special team of special operatives, and they had all this special equipment. And one of the things they had was a cloaking suit. They would wear this thing, and it had nano cameras on one side, and well, actually surrounding the suit, and nano monitor screens on as well, completely covering the suit, so that they could stand in front of a wall, and the side of the suit facing the wall would take a picture or video of the wall they were standing in front of and project it to the monitors on the other side, so that when somebody looked at it, all they saw was the wall. Is that
Oh wow.
did I clarify that enough?
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird, cameras and little tiny cameras and little tiny monitor screens and projecting whatever, so that they blend it in.
Hmm.
And I have heard recently that that's actually have been developed,
Mm.
that it's actually being tested, or maybe already is. Who knows? But
Oh wow.
that was one of my thoughts um, when this fisherman saw the orange glow and the thing faded away. I thought, well, is this some kind of military technology, cloaking technology,
Yeah.
where
Could
it
be.
glowed when it powered up? Um, and the thing about this guy said, well, it was standing between me and the sun, so I saw it in silhouette, or the lighter sky, and I saw it in silhouette, and I could see it clearly. But then it just faded away as it walked out of the riverbank. It just faded away, and so my thought is it this some kind of military cloaking technology, camouflage that just maybe it powered down or something, and this wasn't necessarily an alien or a mantis man, but it was a soldier with a specialized helmet on. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I've read too many of these books, but but that was one thing I thought of. Maybe
Yeah.
that when he saw the big eyes, that could have been some kind of special military type helmet to go with this camouflage suit. Uh, who knows? But the other thing that I thought of, especially with the orange glow, and we've talked about this before, and I bring this up just about every show now, is a portal or a vortex.
Oh, yeah.
Are these things popping in and popping out? And the one thing, it doesn't happen that often, so we really only have a few stories to go by. But most everyone says, they just disappeared. You know, a couple of them actually mentioned the orange glow, and then they faded away. So that's just another possibility. These could be extra dimensional beings. I think one of our stories did mention that. And
Yeah.
that, again, like Elizabeth Parker says, there are other dimensions out there we know nothing about. So could one of those dimensions be populated by people who evolved from insects instead of mammals? Or, I don't know. Could it be? But the Mantis Man is kind of a creepy one. But
It is.
again, yeah, it's just, and it's not that, it doesn't happen that often.
Mm-mm.
And I wanted to go into it because it is that got that creep aspect to it that it's just so odd and so strange. But again, just because we're uncomfortable around it or afraid when it
Right.
shows up, that does not necessarily mean that it is evil.
True.
I want to go back to that because the same thing with ghosts. You
Right.
know, we get
Spirits.
we get uncomfortable. We might get afraid, but that doesn't mean they're evil. He who must not be named, every house he goes into has a demon. So
Oh.
that's why we
That's
don't talk
true.
about him on this show because it's just,
Oh, yeah.
every and again, I'm going back to question, are these really spirits? One
Right.
guy built a voice box or something like that and started communicating with this entity, and they thought it was a ghost, and they're going on, and this thing, his voice is answering them, and they're asking questions, and they're getting, the answers to the questions, and that kind of thing. And then as they kept going, and they kept going, and they kept going, I mean, it kept communicating with them, and at one point, they finally got. And I don't know how true this is. Okay, I mean, I heard the guy telling it firsthand that he built the box or whatever, and he had this experience. But they finally got to talking to the guy. He turned out to be a guy, and he was on a satellite orbiting Venus. It wasn't a ghost after all. He thought. I mean, again,
Huh.
I'm just telling you just his story, his side of it was that he thought he'd been talking to a ghost, and then
Right.
he's talking to somebody in a spaceship, an alien. I don't know. Could this all be tied together?
Yeah.
Could this all be connected? Bigfoot, aliens, puckwudgies, ghosts. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just so many possibilities, and the Mantis Man could be related to them all. And so,
True.
Selena, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for
Oh,
your
thank you.
input.
Oh, yeah.
Watchers, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in 2 weeks. You
2
stay
weeks.
safe on your strange journeys out there. Have a good evening. Bye bye.
Bye.